Welcome to Hank Cisco Show, ladies and gentlemen. Don't touch that remote. I got great guests here today. He's a baseball player and local guy. He played for the Phillies, and he's a good friend of our homegrown Norristown, Tommy Lasorda. So we'll talk more about that. But I want you to meet Bobby Wine. Now, here it is. Now, I don't have to talk too much about it, but here he is when he played with the Phillies. And look what the top says there. 1963 Gold Glove Award winner. Bobby Wine, what's that mean, glove? They give you 163 gloves?
No,
What?
they pick a person for each position for that year for being the best fielder. So I won as a shortstop.
What do you mean, because you didn't make no errors or something?
I didn't make many.
Didn't make
The only
many.
error I made so far is hanging around with you.
Oh, yeah. Well, let me tell you, I'm going to talk about you, you know. You're a good friend of Tommy Lasorda, you know, and we have two Major League Baseball players that you wasn't born around here, but you live around here. So tell me your connection with Tommy Lasorda.
I probably lived here longer than Lasorda did. I got here in when I joined the Phillies in 1960. I was called up, and I stayed downtown. And Tommy, at that time, was scouting because he had played for Toronto and got released. Montreal, not Toronto. And so he had a house here, and he was going to L.A. to go scouting and manage and everything else. So he said he wasn't going to come back anymore, and asked if we were staying here all year instead of just during the baseball season. I said, yeah, we're going to stay in the area. And so I wound up renting his house for a couple of years, and then he came back and said, I'm not coming back, I'm staying in L.A. So you have the first choice if you want to buy it. By that time, my kids were starting to go to school, and my wife liked the area. She liked the
Sure,
kids,
you
the
don't want to
neighbors.
take the kids out of school.
So we just decided we'll buy it.
Are you West Norton or Lower Providence?
Lower Province.
It's right on the borderline.
Right on the borderline.
Trooper
we
Road.
we go to Methacton. Our kids went to Methacton. So we wound up staying there, and we remodeled it naturally because he had no taste. He had no taste at all in any kind of house.
Well, yeah, his
or
brothers
anything.
did all the work.
His brothers did all the work. Tommy didn't even cut
Harry.
the grass or anything. So we
Harry,
had a
Smokey.
lot of work we had to do to make
Yeah.
it the way we wanted it. But we got it where we want it now, and we're happy being here.
Well, next time he's back in town, I'm going to see if we can get both of you on the show at the same time.
Then I might as well
I'll
not
wear-
even
I'll
be
wear
here because
16
I
ounce.
couldn't even talk if he was here.
Huh?
You can't talk over Tommy.
Oh, hey, I'm Sicilian. He's a Bruzzese or something. We're Sicilians. We dominate.
Okay, I got you.
All right, okay. Now, we know a little bit about your past, but I want to know what you're doing now.
What I'm doing now
You're
is
retired
I'm retired.
baseball player. You played with the Phillies. Who else?
Are you asking me a question, or you want to tell me?
I started it because
Actually, I play with the Phillies.
yeah,
Came up in the Philly organization.
right.
I played all my minor leagues with the Phillies, and then I played here for 8 or 9, 10 years. Then I went to Montreal in the draft. I played there almost 4 years. Then from there, I came back here as a coach from
The Phillies.
from 1972 to 1983.
Who was the manager then?
We had 4 managers. We had the first manager when I got here was Paul Owens, came down because they
Owens,
fired
yeah.
Frank Lucchese. Then Paul Owens left, and Danny Ozark came in and managed the team for 8 or 9
You
years.
get along with them guys?
Yes. And then he got fired. Dallas Green came down from the front office
guy.
just to be around, and he wound up staying. In 1980, we went to the World Series and won the World Series. And then
Did you play in the World Series?
I was coaching. And then in '82, he went to Chicago to be with, to be with the Cubs, but be a general manager.
Oh,
So they hired Pat Corrales. And then after a year or so, they fired Corrales,
my
and Owens came back down. And then we went to the World Series again in '83 against Baltimore and got beat. And then I left there because they didn't think they needed me anymore. So I left there and I went with the Braves. And then with Atlanta, I scouted,
You're manager
coached,
there, right?
managed.
At the Braves. That's
And
the Braves where? In
Atlanta,
Atlanta,
Georgia.
I spent some
So
time
we
in
had
Atlanta.
some pretty good years. We've got 4 guys in the Hall of Fame from the last 2 years. We got Bobby Cox, who was the manager. We got Tommy Glavine, who was a pitcher. We got Greg Maddux, who was a pitcher, and we got Smoltz, John Smoltz, who was a pitcher. So we had 4 guys in the last 2 years into the Hall of Fame.
Tell me, when you played, the baseball players got paid weekly. I mean, very weekly compared to what they get paid today, right? And
Yeah.
all right, let's start comparing prices, wages.
There's no comparison.
No
There's,
comparison.
No, there's
No.
not even. They get more meal money than we got
Yeah,
paid.
well, how much for the ticket to get in and see a show then, or see a baseball
the
game?
1964 World Series that we thought we were going to win in '64, a box seat, a good box seat was $12,
Wow.
and a low
$12
seat
don't even get you a hot dog.
was 12 and 8 were the 2 ticket prices. But changing times. Minimum
yeah.
salary back when I got in the league was $6,500, $6,500. Minimum salary now is close to $400,000.
Yeah,
So there's a big difference.
that's a
And
big,
when they sign a guy for 5 years, it's in the millions. When they sign a guy for 1 year, they didn't sign guys for 2 years or 3 years. Mickey Mantle, who maybe a lot of the kids don't remember, but Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays, Henry Aaron, Sandy
Everybody
Koufax, Don
remembers them.
Drysdale, they barely made $100,000.
oh my God,
And they were the greatest players that
Yeah.
you could find.
legendary.
Babe Ruth made $100,000.
Yeah.
And everybody thought that was unheard of. But
Well, yeah.
that's not even
Well, don't forget-
changed anymore.
Them days, I remember when I lived on Chestnut Street in Norristown, I used to go to the American store, and the loaf of white American bread was 5 cents, 7 cents if you wanted sliced. Big
Well,
deal.
back then, milk
So,
cost more than gas.
Yeah,
I remember my father going in and filling up a gas tank for $3 or $4.
right.
Fill it up and you drive all week.
Right. My father had a shoemaker shop, and we shine the shoes was 10 cents. 10 cents for shine your shoes. Now I think $1.50 they shine your shoes. So well, the things change. But talking about change, do you think there should be some changes in baseball? Maybe because TV dominates, or not. I don't know if you don't want to use the word dominates, but controls the game. Maybe I'm talking too much. Maybe football is more controlled by the TV. I don't know. Maybe it's
No,
what's the difference?
baseball is the same. You play it on the field. You got so many outs.
Right.
You got to get 27 outs. You got
Well,
a
where'd
winning
they-
team
where-
and all that. That's different. The business end has changed. The business end of
Of the business,
baseball
yeah.
and sports in general has changed. Money and TV and the rights that people have now. When we were playing, we went on. They called it a strike. It wasn't really a strike. It was just a walkout.
Yeah, walk out.
Because we were trying to get hospitalization. We were trying to get a little more meal money. We were getting $8 a day meal money to go on the road.
Want a little bit of that TV money
All right.
too.
So it was $8 forever, ever. When we finally got a guy in there that knew more about the information, things got better. Hospitalization got better.
Yeah.
The pension got better. Everything like that. Then all of a sudden, when they got the free agency, where players could play out their option. See, we could never do that. We were signed by a team. We stayed with a team until they didn't want us. Then they could trade us. We had no say. Now the players have agents and lawyers, and they go in and say, we want a 5-year deal, we want a 3-year deal, and then they have the options of going somewhere else and getting more. So that's why a lot
Within
of teams.
that 3 years, that they can.
Yeah, once they get,
they can
once
jump
they
ship
get, they
anytime?
can jump ship after a certain period, unless that team signs them for what they want. So there's guys that were on playoffs and World Series teams last year, they played out their option, and they're with another team because they got 10 million more. So baseball has changed that way. The game itself hasn't changed. You still play it that way.
You're right.
It's a little different now because management doesn't have the power that it had. It has to go through a player association. You can't just find a guy. You can't just, get rid of a guy. You have to go through a process. You have to go to the commissioner's office and have a hearing. There's a lot of things have changed.
Yeah.
The game itself is the same.
Yeah, you're right. I guess it's almost like in show business, like movie actors. The company would own them, but then they start producing their own shows, and they became their own owners and all.
Well,
So, and football's having its change too.
Everything. The football is way behind baseball as far as players go, like their pensions, their benefits and things like that. They're way behind baseball. They've gotten better.
Yeah.
But now, as you read and hear about the concussions and all the people and all the football players that are getting damaged because of all those years, and they're trying to go back and do research on all those older players that went through all that stuff and didn't get any benefits out of it. I mean, there's a lot of football players that are really in desperate need, that they need help.
No follow-up.
A lot of them, some of them, not a lot of them, a lot of them have had brain damage and different things. Some of them committed suicide over the fact that their brain. Baseball has a better program and has had a better program than any football situation has, and they've had a better pension situation for players.
Boxing's in a bad shape too. They don't have anything, no pension, no nothing, It's sports or something.
Sports is if you're playing in a major league team and you get hurt, well, your reaction is, I'm going to play, because if I don't play, somebody else is going to play, and if they get hot or play a little bit better, they're not going to want me. That's why a lot of players just kept playing. There were guys in football especially got knocked out, and they'd come back to the sideline and they'd give them a little fresh air and everything, and then they'd send them back out there. And that's where the damage comes in.
Yeah.
Nowadays, they got a little more rules.
They take them to the dressing room.
The doctors are there now, and the doctors won't let a guy go back in. Years ago, he'd say, I'm going back in. I'm done.
Let me ask you, the football, the turf, they uses turf now, not dirt, and that they can run faster and they can hit harder. Is baseball, they still play with grass and dirt, or what? Is that?
They've done away with most of the turf. There's not very many fields that have turf anymore. They've done away with that. They did a lot of research on that because it's built on blacktop, and then it's a layer of some kind of rubberized stuff, and then the grass comes on top of that. So
is that real grass or?
No, it's artificial.
Oh.
It all started back in the old days when the Astrodome was built.
Oh, yeah.
When the Astrodome was built, they had glass top. Everything was glass. The only problem they had, that the glass, when the ball was hit, the fielders couldn't see where the ball was.
Oh.
Because between the glass and the glare and all the concrete, all the metal girders and everything up on top, they'd lose the ball. So they'd throw up their hands and we don't know where it is. So that was opening day. The Yankees were playing in the Dome exhibition game, and they realized that that's going to be a problem. So they converted everything to night games, and that they still had problems. So then they wound up painting it. They painted the whole dome. They painted the whole thing.
The glass.
All the glass. They painted it dark. Then they could play inside. But the grass died because it wasn't getting sunlight. And then they came up with the AstroTurf. That's how it all came about.
Oh my God!
Because of some, no one thought about seeing the ball.
But I don't know if that is that. Do you think it helps the game for them with a baseball player? Where does the ball bounce?
It's way faster. It's way faster.
The ball will hit and move.
The ball is faster, especially if it's wet. The ball scoots, gets very hot. It's like 180 degrees on the turf. They've had thermometers on there. It'd burn your feet. Players had to come in and put their feet in buckets of water
Oh my God.
to cool
Cold
it
ice.
down.
Yeah.
And you know, after a lot of research and a lot of meetings and all that stuff, they finally got smart and got it out of there. So most of the ballparks are real grass now.
How about the glove? The glove, when the first time you ever played in organized baseball, was the glove different, bigger, smaller, or what? I see some now, a great big glove.
Well, there's supposed to be a measurement on the glove, but
there a
outfielders,
limit?
yeah, outfielders and pitchers go for the big gloves, you know, so they can reach and all. Infielders usually go for the smaller glove because they can get the ball out of their glove faster. So, you know, I see kids in the leagues that, you know, I help coach around. They get a new glove, and the glove is so heavy and so big that they can't even hold it up. They need two hands to hold it up. And I try to tell them, don't go for the big monster thing. You know, they all
right
think.
there. Now, tell me, what do you do when you're off time? Well, off time, now that you're retired. You coach little kids baseball?
We have my daughter and the kids, they go to the Springford Township. They're up in Royersford, Limerick area. So I coach the rec basketball and baseball teams for them, or help out with them. My son's the coach. I'm just a flunky. He's the head coach. He has to send out all the emails and listen to all the parents. I don't have to do any of that. I just go out and play with the kids. So we keep busy with that. I got 9 grandkids and I got 4 great-grandkids. So you're asking what I do?
And you got a grandson that's in the service.
My one grandson,
what's his name?
Kyle, he graduated from West Virginia, and he came home and he said, I'm going to join the Marines, and this is what I want to do. He graduated from West Virginia, went down to Quantico, went through all the training and
tough training down there.
It was a Marine base, and passed everything. Got his second lieutenant stripes. He's going to not Quantico. He's going to
California.
The next base to go into training for logistics, and on from there, I don't know. You know, it just depends.
My grandson was in the Marines and special unit and all, and then now he's a police officer with West Norton Police. So
I
it's
know.
a good
He stopped me once. He told me, he said, you know Hank? And I said, yeah. He said, here's a ticket. No, he didn't. I'm just
Well,
kidding.
I'm the ambassador.
'Cause I met him. I know
if you get any tickets, mention my name, pay the fine.
But he's a nice kid.
Oh, yeah, he better be. He's my grandson. So, now, tell me, who was your favorite manager that you get along with?
I got along with all my managers. I only had one manager when I played. I played for Gene Mock. He was the Philly manager. So
Is he
was
still
here.
around?
No, he passed away.
Oh.
So he was here for 8 or 9 or 10 years, whatever it was. So I played there all through my career with him. Then he left over a discrepancy with some players and ownership, and he wound up going to Montreal and become the manager in Montreal. So I wound up being traded from Philly to Montreal, and I played for him again. So I played all my career
with him.
Yeah. So I didn't have a lot of different managers.
All right, now, there's so much talk about Howard. You know, here's a guy that was a good player. Now he's aging, you know, and he's got a contract with money. They can't release him. How's that work?
Well, they can do anything they want. I mean, they can release him.
They can?
They can release him. They just have to pay him. You know, they have to pay him everything that he's entitled to. Now, if there's some contracts that are written in, if you get 300 at bats, we'll give you an extra $5 million. If you hit 30 home runs, we'll give you $10 million. If you play in 180 games, we'll give you $10 million. All right, now this contract apparently they wrote for him was just blanket. Here's $180 million. Is that good? That's pretty good. But they owe him, right. I think they owe him still, I think this year is 25 to 35 million. And then next year they still have, I think, part that they have to buy him out for 15 or 20 million. So if they released him next year, after this year, they still have to pay him somewhere around $20 million just to tell him to go home. We don't want you
All
anymore.
he's got to do is stay healthy.
He doesn't have to.
Yeah,
He don't have to play a game. He's going to get his money right now.
I was up at the boot there on up there in Skipback on DeKalb Street. It's called From the Boot, and I was eating there. He came in with his girlfriend. I think it was his girlfriend, and getting a takeout order. So he likes Italian food. Maybe that's what keeps him going, right?
Well, he built a house in Clearwater.
Is he around here someplace?
No, he lives in Clearwater.
Where?
You're talking about Ryan Howard.
Yeah.
He lives in Clearwater. Now he probably rented a place up here, or
yeah.
maybe he bought a place for the summer.
Oh, well, that's it.
But
yeah.
his house in Clearwater is off of Clearwater Beach. It is probably as big as the school over here that we're in right now.
Why do they get these big houses?
Well, you know what? If you got $200 million coming to you, you know, how much can a house cost you? You know, so it's no big deal. But it's a beautiful place. It looks like a castle, to tell you the truth.
Now you're gonna. You played shortstop, right?
Yes.
If you were gonna give me some pointers about being a shortstop, what would be the basic thing?
I would tell you, first of all, don't give up boxing. That would be the first thing I would tell you. Don't give up boxing.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, you have to be, your feet have to be on balance, like, right?
Your feet have to be, your feet have to be in position. Your hands have to be in position.
Right.
You have to know the speed of the runners. You have to know what the situation is. A lot of the kids that are playing in the lower leagues, you know, in the lower, they kind of lose thought of the game. So sometimes a ground ball will come to them and they'll throw it over there when all they had to do is flip it to second. Yeah. So that's some of the things you have to teach them as you're growing up. What to do with the ball when they get it.
Okay.
Think about it before it's hit to you. Think about who you're going to throw it to. Think about, do I have to hurry? Is it hit hard? Is it hit easy? I mean, that's all that stuff that comes in natural.
Whether you're going to go into the ball or just wait for it.
It's baby steps. You know, we start out with the fourth and fifth graders especially, that, you know, they've never played, some of them don't know where right field is, some of them don't know where left field is. So you have to go through a whole process of, this is the catcher, this is first base, this is second base, this is third base, this is shortstop. Right. And then tell them exactly where those positions are.
What they have to do.
Because in the league that we have, everybody plays different positions. You don't just play short. You don't play first. You don't just catch. You don't pitch. You play everything.
Oh, yeah.
So every kid will play a position. He'll play first this inning. Next inning he might play center field. Next inning he'll play right field. Next inning he'll play third base. And if you have more than 9 kids, then you rotate the kids in and out. So they get a feeling of playing everywhere.
Yeah.
And you just keep shooting them in and out, and they all learn, hopefully.
I guess it's good for a kid to learn, play some kind of sport. It gives that will to win.
Well, the whole thing about a lot of the sports now, the outdoor sports especially, it's getting harder and harder to keep kids into that because of all this mechanical stuff here.
Yeah.
They got the games, they got the phones, they got all this stuff.
They get arthritis in the fingers.
When we get the kids, first thing they're told is mechanical stuff is put away.
Right.
You know, there's no eating in the dugouts. There's none of that stuff. We try to keep
concentrate on the game,
professional as we can. You know, with 9 and 10-year-olds. You know,
Newt Rockney was a great coach with Notre Dame, and they asked him one time, Newt, what do you look for as a coach? You look for a guy that's a smart quarterback. You're looking for a guy that can pass. He says, I'm looking for a guy that has a desire to play. If he has a desire to play, there's no problem. If he don't have the desire to play, he can have all the talent, but it's not going to work.
Well, this is a long, long time ago when Pete Rose was playing.
Yeah.
When Pete Rose first came up, you know, he'd run to first base, he'd slide, he'd head first slide, he'd do all that stuff.
Straight.
Now, a couple years later, the process started to change where they were trying to sign long-term contracts for players, because if it was 1 year and the guy had a great super year, the next year you couldn't pay him because he went from 100,000. You know, the old owners didn't realize the money that was coming in and going out, so they were kind of confused on how to do this. And if you signed the wrong guy for a long-term contract, you were stuck, because now he gets all this money and he's not a good player.
All right. Pete Rose, you think he should get in the Hall of Fame?
Probably.
Good. Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Bobby Wine. Hey, so my show today is Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I never come back, for it's root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame, for it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Bobby Wine, thanks a lot. God bless everybody. And baseball season is starting, so get your tickets ahead of time. And until we see you, keep bobbing and weaving, keep your trunks off the canvas. Okay?
All right.
Hello, salute. Here's Rock, to your health.
To your health.
There we go. Hello, salute.
Nostrovia.
Appropriate.